Okay, so now we're going to move from this to looks like this. I really love this shade of black. I don't know what shade it is, but I'm going to have a quick look. It's 101010. Okay, I'm just going to take note of that. So this is our website, and I'm going to show you now how to create this using our theme builder in Elementor. So the first thing you want to do is click where it says templates and click on theme builder. And what you want to do is create a single template. Click on add new single, and where it says select post type, we're going to choose project, and I put in single project page, and then we're going to create the template. Perfect. Now you've installed Crockablock, you've installed Jet Engine, and what you'll see is that we'll have the normal pro widgets on the left hand side, but if you scroll down, we would also have some extra features here. We've got a dynamic field, dynamic image, dynamic link, etc, etc. So let's just start off by just using this section here. This is a full width section, and it's at a full height as well. And as you can see, as we scroll up, the image blackens out, and this top section looks like it's moving directly above it. Okay. So what you want to do here is you want to create a full width section. Okay. And for the sake of this tutorial, I'm actually just going to take out this header because I don't want it to confuse what we're doing. So don't do what I'm doing yet, but I'm just going to make this a canvas for now. Okay, so then we can get rid of the header. Now, as you can see, it's full width and it's got an image at the back and it's got the title on the front. So I'm going to select this section, and here where it's got height, I'm going to put minimum height, and I'm going to put 100, and I'm going to choose here where it says VH, which stands for viewport height. Make sure that's at 100, and you see now it's from top to bottom. Okay, next I'm going to click on the style tab, and here where it's got background, I'm going to choose classic, and here where it's got image, I'm going to click here where it says dynamic, and I'm going to choose our featured image. You can see it's right in there like that. We want to position that to center, and we want the attachment to be fixed, and we want the size to cover. Okay. We also don't want it to repeat. We just want it to be like that. Next, we want to go to our background overlay, and we want to choose a color because as you can see, it's quite dimmed out, and they've done this on purpose. This is actually a really good design tip, is that if you do have text like this on top of a background, when it's like that, it'll be very hard to see. So it's good practice for you to dim down the background so then the text on the front is seen. Okay, so here we have our background overlay, and we're going to choose the black color which they had, which is this 1010. We could save that color so we don't have to keep putting in the hex all the time. We could save that color here. If we need to delete a color, we can grab it and just throw it in there as well if we need to. I'm going to throw out some of these because we don't need it. You could choose the opacity, you could dim it out as much as you can really. So I think there is good enough. Just then we could see that there is something, but of course the text is the most important. Next, we want to click on this icon up here, and we want to just bring in the post title or grab that in. If you do not see the post title, then you need to rewind this video back and watch what I did again, because you're probably creating a template the wrong way. So make sure that you have created the template exactly how I've said it, and you should be able to see these widgets. Okay. So here we have our title. We want to make sure that it's a H1, and we want to center this, center it, and you can make it as big as you want. I'm just going to make it like that. Okay, so as you can see with this, as we scroll down, it kind of fades out. So I just did a little bit of research, and I found out that you can actually do this with Elementor. So how we do that is make sure we have the section selected, click on Advanced, and on Motion Effects, we can click here where it says Scrolling Effects, and we've got Transparency. Now we can choose Fade Out. We can have it at a high level. Make sure the top is at 100% and the bottom is at 41% or even 52%. So then it just starts, you know, getting darker the further it goes down. Okay. That's pretty cool that we can do that. I'm really impressed with that actually. Now let's do this section. So what we have here is we have two columns. We've got this column here and we've got this column. And then we've got a larger column underneath. So how we can do this is create two columns here. And again, we've got the title section. We could copy this one, come over here, paste that. Change this to maybe H3. And we can bring down the size of this, make sure it's left aligned. You can see as well there's this big gap in between the top here and where it actually starts, so we'll add that soon. And we've also got this section here, which is like 3 columns in the one column. So for that part, what we want to do is grab out our basic inner section, and we want to add another column in there. We can, if you want, move this over so we've got more room. This seems to be more dead centered, but it doesn't really matter. We're cool with that. So the first thing we have here is the client, and then we've got the date, and then we've got the country. So in order to bring that in, we'll click here, scroll down to the bottom, and here we want to drag out where it says dynamic field. I'm going to drop that in there. I've got a list of options here that we could use. And this basically shows the basic post data, which is the title, date, etc., etc. What we want to do is we want to choose the metadata, and we want to choose the client field. And there we have our client key. We could even add an icon if we want to, but we're not going to do that. We can add our tags here if we want to, but I'm just going to choose the P tag for now. It says we can hide if the value is empty. So if we don't have a client, and say if we did have an icon in there, we'll put an angry face. If we didn't have a client, the angry face would just show. So if there is no client, we can choose that this whole thing just doesn't show in general, okay? But we don't need that for now, because we will always make sure that all of these fields are filled in, because that's important for our site. You could also customize the field output here. So if I wanted to just write client, I can do. Now, to me, this makes more sense than this, because Hugh Chung, I don't know what that means. Do you know what I mean? And country, I also don't know why I would put a country there either, but maybe you could have that for something else. I don't know. Remember, these are just examples of what you could put in. You don't necessarily have to follow it verbatim. If you are making, for instance, if you're a photographer and you've got loads of different clients and you've got loads of different types of images, I guess, that you shoot, you could probably put, you know, client's name. You don't have to put a date. You can maybe just put a year, and you could just put the location, you know, London or whatever. So it's totally up to you how you create your custom fields. Don't think that because we've done it this way that that's all you're stuck with. Of course not. You can create any fields that you possibly want. In another tutorial much later on during the year, I'll probably do one which shows you how to create a musician site, and that one we're going to do a lot of relational fields as well. But anyway, I'm getting far too ahead of myself. Let's just stick with what we've got now. So I'm just going to do a little bit of styling with this. And let's say we're going to use the date field. So I can just copy this, paste this in here, and then change this to date. Now what you will see is that it's going to show us some random date here. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So what we can do is we can customize the filter field output. We'll click this here, and then here where it's got callback, we can change that to date, format date, okay? I'm not going to customize the output of that because that is pretty much self-explanatory, okay? But I am going to make sure that this is uppercase because that will suit the rest of what we got going on here. And again, I can copy this and then paste that in there. And this is going to be the country. So I can change this to country, and have to remember I've got to make sure the filter field output is not selected. So then we have that there like that. So now we're going to concentrate on the category section. And this category section is a bit too far down for my liking, so I'm probably going to move this up here. Now, in order to do this, I would have thought the most easiest way to do it was to come over to here and grab out the dynamic terms, throw that in there, and then create terms based on our custom post type or our project, right? But you can't do that with this because we have got icons with each of our categories, so we need to find a way to display that. So what we need to do is create what we call a listing grid, and listing grids are amazing. So listings is a great way of you being able to create dynamic content and display it in a way how you want to display it. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So what we want to do is I'm just going to open up a new tab. I'm going to go to my dashboard. I've done it twice there. And in the part where it's got Jet Engine, I'm going to create a new listing. And I'm going to create a term, project type, and we're going to just call this project type listing. So what we can do is we can create one column, and in that column, we're going to create let's say we're going to create a dynamic field, and we're going to choose metadata, and we're going to choose the category icon from here. If you scroll further down where it's got the filter field output, we can actually choose the icon. So there we have our icon. Cool. Next, what we can do is we can grab, let's say, blah, 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 blah. Let's try another dynamic field here. And this is going to be the post term. And we're going to choose the term name, which is software development. Okay. And that's cool. We can just leave that how it is. Now, as you can see, we've got the icon and we've got the text here. And what you might think might be a good idea to do is just to create another column and then move that in here and then move this over and stuff like that. But this doesn't really work very well because these columns are done by percentages, not pixels. So what I would do in this case is I would just create it as one column, and I would select the icon. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to uncheck this value here. and I'm going to put a, let's say a 25 pixel padding or margin, sorry, on the right hand side, okay? And if I scroll down a bit further, where it's got positioning, I'm going to make this be in line. So you could see we've got our icon and we've got a little bit of a padding there. That might be too big, so I'm going to drop that down to about a 10, okay? And the same with this, where it's got software development, I can choose advanced, positioning, and make that in line as well. And that will bump up right to the side of it. We can check what it's going to look like on mobile. It shouldn't really be any problem on mobile. That should be fine, okay? We could just leave that how it is and we can select publish. Now, if we come back over here, I'm just going to refresh the page for a minute. Scroll down, and here I'm just going to type in listing, if I could spell it properly. I'm going to drop that in here, and I'm going to select our project type. So what we want to do is just change this so the columns are, we can have 2 if you want, but let's just keep it to the design. So we're just going to keep one on top of the other like that, okay? We also want to make sure that that stays the same on tablet and it stays the same on mobile too, okay? So here we go, that kind of looks cool. One of the things though is that the text is uppercase. We do not have that ability to change the text here, so we have to go back into the listing in order to do that, but that's okay for now, okay? We'll just keep it like that for now. I'm going to move this up a little bit and we're good. As you can see, we have got quite a big padding space, and there is some really nice spacing here as well. So we want to replicate that again. We want to click on edit section, and in the padding, we just want to unlink this, and we can put like a 90 pixel padding on the top and a 90 pixel padding on the bottom, and that will give us some really nice clean white space there. So another part we need to add is this section here underneath. So we can go back here and we can drag out a dynamic field and place that in this column. Now, if you find it a bit difficult, just place it anywhere in there like that. And in the navigator, click on the section, click on the relevant column. And I think it's in the first one, so it's this one. We drag that and we can just put that in there above the intersection. Actually, let's drag it just underneath it. So if you have any problems with trying to move the widget in particular places, then this navigator is godsend for that, okay? So in this section, we have this intro text. Remember, that's what we called it. And we want to choose the metadata. And from here, we want to use the introduction text. And that's cool. You can style this and maybe make it 14 pixels. So this looks pretty cool, huh? This is cool. So the next bit we need to do now is just add this section underneath. Now we need to create a completely separate section for that. And we can just copy this and paste that in there like that. What we want to do is choose the post term, and we just want to choose the content for this. And there we have that as well. Okay, so now we're going to do this section, which, remember, in the back end when we created our custom post type, this was a repeater field. So we are going to, I'm going to show you how to do that repeater field right now, actually. One of the things you have to do though is you need to find this article. It's in the knowledge base in Crockablock. I'm going to leave a link below actually, so you won't have to find it. And what you need to do is scroll down to here where it says Media 1. Oops, let me just cancel that. It says Media 1 image ID we're going to copy this because we actually need this in order to display the media that we have, or the photos that we have in the dynamic repeater widget. So let's go back here, and we're going to create another section. Make sure it's a full section like this one. And what we'll do is we'll type in repeater, and we'll drag that down here. Next, in the source, we want to choose project images, and we're going to get rid of this section here where it's got the item format, because we want to add a HTML tag which is specific for images. So just a little bit of HTML in this, don't worry, you're not going to be in any problems. So we put this bracket here, this angled bracket, and then we put image source equal sign, 2 quotation marks, and then we close it, right? And then in the middle of it, we're going to put what we copied from the macros guide. Now here it's got media 1, and you'll see that there's some broken images here, and the reason why is because we don't have anything in there called media 1. So we need to change this to what we originally called a image, which was project image. And now you'll see all the images show up. So in order to style it, we just need to click here where it's got style, and instead of it being horizontal, we can choose vertical. And what we can do is just add a little bit of margin to the bottom, so then there's some spaces in between. We'll add like a 50 pixel margin. And there we have that section. That was pretty easy to do. Now we're going to move over to this section, which is the gallery section, and it's a slider. So I'm going to show you how to do this section. Now, what you would need to do is we need to go back into the dashboard settings for this, because we have to enable this type of feature in Jet Engine. So if we go down here, just click on the word Jet Engine, and it should take you to the dashboard. And here it's got a slider gallery for dynamic field widget. We need to check this and save that there. Now let's go back here. I'm just going to save this as a draft, and I'm going to refresh it. And if we scroll down, we're going to create another section. And remember, this is a slider gallery for the dynamic field widget. So we're going to pull the dynamic field widget here. And we're going to choose our metadata. And we're going to choose slider images. You could see it automatically shows the IDs of all of the slider images that we have, which is 3. So we know that this is working. Next, in the filter field output, we want to check this, and then you should be able to check a field where it says images gallery slider. And there we have it. We have our gallery slider. If I click that, it should now show all of the images that we have. If I go back to the original page, it doesn't really do anything, like you don't click on it and it opens into a light box or anything. So let me just close all these down because we don't need them right now. But here we have our slider. And of course we can go into the style settings, and we can adjust our settings here if we need to. I'm going to leave that as it is. Okay, so now we're going to add the repeater field here, which is super cool and easy to do. And as you can see, it literally takes up the whole screen. So we're going to create another section, and we are going to click here, make sure we check the height, make sure we choose 100 viewport height like that. And in here, we're going to put in a repeater field. And just drop that in there. And we're going to choose our testimonial. Now here it's got the name, and if we can remember, let's go back to our dashboard settings. If we can remember what we called our testimonial, we had a testimonial text and a testimonial name. So I'm going to grab this part here and go click here, and I'm just going to put in testimonial text. And we have that there. That's cool. So I'm going to make sure that that's centered, and I can update the size of this. Now what you might notice is that even though I've centered it, it's actually just left aligning. This sometimes could be a problem. So in order to combat that, what you can do is click on the column, and where it's got the style tab, you can choose the typography to center it, so it's always centered. Also, what you'll notice is if we go back here, it's pretty much smaller than the rest. Like if you look at the rest of the content, it stretches from here to here, yeah? But down here, it's not. It's kind of more centered. So what we can do is we can just edit this section, and where it's got the column width, we can change this column width to whatever we feel is appropriate. So we can just use it like that. So I'm going to duplicate this repeater field, and I'm going to put this as testimonial name. So here it's got back to home and go to website. So that's actually something we've not added to the website. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So let's press save. Now this is, I'm assuming if this was like a web design project, which it kind of is, you would have some type of link to go to where that project is. So you can do that quite easily by, let's go back to the dashboard. We can add another meta field in here, and we could just call this website link. And it would just be a normal field type because it doesn't have a URL field here. And we can bring this up to just drop that there and update the post type. Now, when we go into the projects, we'll just pretend that this is the link, and we're just going to drop that link in there and update that. Now, let me just save this draft, and I'm going to refresh it. And if we just scroll down, we can create 2 columns this time, and one will be an icon here. We'll just get rid of these, and we could change this to be an arrow that goes this way. We're not going to add any animation to this per se. There's not a possibility to do that within this, so never mind. We'll just pretend that it moves when we hover over it. And we could put back to website, and this will bring us back to the home page, or the back to portfolio, or just back to home. And we can duplicate this, move this over to here, and we're going to change the direction of the arrow to there. So as you can see, we can't really move this icon before or after anything. So one trick that we can do is, if you look here, we've got the text. So what I can put here instead is view the website, and I can duplicate this, and I can take out the icon. I can make this in line, and then I can take out the text out of this one. So view the website and then the icon right next to it. So where it's got view the website, I would click on dynamic, scroll down to custom field, and then I can choose the website link from here. Okay. And with the link options, always make sure it opens in a new window, and if possible, add a nofollow to it as well. And we could do the same with the icon, just in case somebody touches the icon. So we go to custom field and website link and open a new window, and there we go. Now we can just align that to the right. Now we've created this template, all we need to do is click the publish button, and here it says, where do you want to display your template? So we want to make sure we display it on all projects. So we're going to save and close this. And now if we look at our project, it went from this to this. You can see it fades out as it goes up, etc. Now, a few things you're probably asking, which I didn't talk about, was the theme. What is the ideal theme to use for this type of website? I tend to use the Hello theme because for me, I need a very clean base to start from. I don't want extra stuff at all on the site, and this is probably one of the leanest themes. So if you're creating anything which is quite creative, then this would be the theme that I would definitely say to use. I wouldn't necessarily use this for e-commerce projects, but I would use it for websites that I really just want complete control over, and I want it as blank as possible.